Kia ora e te whānau, no mai hoki mai. This is our last episode and I'm actually really sad because I've really enjoyed our time here today. But we're here again with Rochelle from R&P Insurance. Today we're going to be going over business insurance. So
Yeah.
this is something that I need to be learning a lot more about, so I'm excited about that. So can you give us an overview about what business insurance is,
Yes.
who needs it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Kia ora. Business insurance, yes. So, again, prefacing that this isn't advice, but two, I actually don't give advice or support on business insurance unless it's like a very specific situation, and then I might be able to, point you in the right direction of a broker to help you. But I guess my first thing is have a broker.
Yep.
It might be easy to go online and buy it. Where it's not easy is to claim on it if you don't have that support with someone helping you. And I've been through a few claims with people for business insurance, and it's not as straightforward as we'd like it to be, and it's just because it's business and nothing is straightforward in business, right? So overview of business insurance, I guess kind of like how car contents we, in our head when we start a business, we're like, it's more what we think about. Like you do kind of think, oh, what do I need to, and it's when someone asks you for your insurance. So say like, I guess a builder, if they got a contract with a massive company, they'll be like, where's your insurance? And then that's when the builder, possibly a startup company, doesn't have any. And then they're like, hey, I need some insurance. And then
Me.
and then we run around trying to find the insurance and get it all sorted. And that's what happens. But there is so many different types, and I'm just going to kind of touch on a few different things. So for business insurance, there are things called liability covers. There's so many different types of liability, but the main ones are it's called a couple of different things, but it might be called general liability, public liability, broad form liability, basically all the same thing. And when people have that, it's generally to cover their liability if they, say, damage something at another business in the situation where they're conducting business somewhere. So it sounded really like brief, but say we use the builder example because we're there. And a builder went to a job site and they were being subcontracted in to do a specific thing, and they went there with their workers and they say kicked something that then affected the electrical system, that then affected the plumbing system, and it all kind of, there was a lot of damage done. You're liable for that damage because you're the one that did it. Well, your public liability might come through is that when that starts to get up into the tens of thousands and you can't cover it yourself. And that's kind of just the start of it. If someone was injured in a situation, if it's generally like, imagine if you like had an accident within a business and then it stopped all the other businesses in that block being able to access their business,
right?
Because
and then
you did something wrong.
You're liable for the income.
Yeah, the loss of their income, the damage to their property. Like there's just so many things that go with that. So that's usually the first thing people have if there's any insurance. It's that one. The other one is not just one. And the next one would be professional liability cover. Professional liability for me is cover for the advice that I give people. So I'm a financial advisor, and if I give bad advice, that person could then complain and it could cost someone millions of dollars, especially when we're talking insurance if I've given the wrong advice. So I've got professional liability cover that covers me for the advice that I give. I want to also say that anything intentional is never going to be covered, okay? But it's all, unintentionally doing things that then get you into trouble. So that's professional liability. Now, generally, professional liability is limited to people that are giving advice. So, and we talked about lawyers and stuff kind of offline. Very different. The risk is very different depending on what your profession is. I've got consultants that kind of business consult or, to corporates, etc., that might ask for this liability cover. Education consultants, sometimes schools will ask for liability cover as well. The next one that comes up very often is employee liability. So if you have got employees that have a full-time, part-time contract, or even casual, that you have a dispute with, that's where employee or employer, depending on how you set it up, may help you. You got a question?
No. I was just thinking of like different scenarios here, and say like a personal grievance is made against like an employer, and like I've known some people who have had to pay like tens, thousands of dollars out to this individual for, something they've made a mistake as an employer. So those are the different scenarios that they would be covered for.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what you need to be thinking about in that scenario. So if you have employees, you should have it. You should also considering statutory liability. So this is if you unintentionally break government laws / acts. So if you're thinking like the Health and Safety Act, and then that has an impact, or somebody, and I'm always thinking like construction here, and the only reason I think that is because it's probably the most common where it comes up in. But if you break health and safety laws and then one, get caught, or two, there's a consequence has happened, and then people find out, that's where fines and stuff can happen. And that's where statutory liability could be supportive for you. And the type of cover that you have will be very specific to your business. And this is why I say to people to see a broker, because you might, be like, oh, I've only been asked for public liability, so I'm just going to get that, and I'm getting it off the internet, and I'll just get $1 million. But what if your liability is like 10 million?
Yeah.
Then what do you do? So say you do something, I had a client that used an example, they are a carpenter.
Yep.
And it's like, if I screw through this wall and it's like a block of flats and it affects all of the flats because of A, B, C, and there could be gas or whatever, I'm not like smart enough or skilled in that area, but this is kind of how he explained it to me. That's millions and millions and millions. $1 million's not enough. And that's where a broker can come in and kind of help you see your risks, and then you decide what to cover and how that looks for you. I know when people set up a business and they're like, you feel like you're just, coming from me as well, you're just hemorrhaging money, like money's just flying out the door for all these things that you didn't kind of take into account. And I think one thing you don't want to, especially in business, cut corners on is insurance. I've seen a few claims come through. Another liability is cyber liability. So if you're taking customer details, where the Privacy Act might come into it, or hacking, that type of stuff, really kind of important depending on the way that your business is set up. And there's more, but that's probably the main crux of it when it comes to liability, which feels like a lot. And again, it will be specific to your business and the risk to you. But most people have a couple of those. And then there might be, this is when we go into assets, so business assets. It might be all the things that you have. So I've got a lot of podcasts, people that I talk to. So podcasting equipment, laptops, phones, all of that. If that can't be covered as a limit under your contents insurance, for whatever reason, your contents insurers don't cover business assets, or their limit's like $3,000 and you've got $10,000 worth of stuff, then we probably need to start looking at it being in a business cover. You might have stock that you want to insure as well, which would be really important. And you're thinking from a flood fire point of view, you lose it all at once, then how do you make that money back? You've already paid for it. Vehicles. So if you've got a car and it's owned by the business, then it should be in a business insurance. Now, when it comes to business vehicles, a lot of people might mention that the insurance costs more, or insurance companies only want to do the market value of the vehicle rather than agreed. Do you know what the difference between those are? Yep. So and this is applicable to personal insurances as well. So for car insurance, you can go agreed value or market value. Agreed value is a agreed value that you have agreed with the insurer, and so you know what you're going to get paid at claim time if it's a full write-off. Which honestly, when the floods did not take much. So you know that you're going to get that, and it's all good to go. That's what you pay your premium on. Market value is the market value of the vehicle prior to it being written off.
Oh, okay.
So that could change. It could go up or down. And a lot of business insurance policies sit in that. You can ask for agreed, and there's a few extra things you have to do to get there. It's just a little bit harder to get. A lot of people do find it more expensive. Where I would challenge you on that is that if you are claiming that vehicle's expenses through your taxes and everything like that, if you're saying it's business use but you're not telling somebody else it's business use, you're really walking a fine line of...
Right. So if you're claiming it as a business expense but you've got it under as a personal car under your cover,
Yeah.
you're
potentially not insured, right, and potentially leaving yourself in a position that you could not be covered.
okay.
So we can't double dip here.
Yeah.
Kind of cheaper insurance as personal, and then have it as an expense. I mean, some people can, and people might listen to this and be like, I do that and everything. It's just, if you want to do it from a legit point of view and know that you're going to get paid and know that it's set up right, then that's where you need to go.
Cool. So if someone's just starting out a business, is that the point when you should start considering insurances? Do you wait until you've grown a bit, or when's the time that you start to think about business insurance?
Yeah, I guess it depends on, again, it's so specific to the business, but you've really got to think about your risk. Yeah, and there's also there's another one which is business interruption, which a lot of people mistake as being income protection. It's not. It's just say we've got a couple of Pilates studios that we look after, so they've got business interruption, which means if say there's a fire, they can actually not run their business, so they're losing income.
Yeah.
But you can't claim that anywhere, so you could have business interruption that would then cover that for you, cover that loss.
Okay.
As well. But when we're starting up a new business, so what I would say is, if you're starting a new business, think about the risk. What do you have physically? What are the assets to insure? What, how do you conduct your business? Are you sitting at home? Do you have customers? Have you got employees? If you're starting to get kind of a little bit on edge, then it's probably that you do need something, but you're not sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just talk to other business owners around you that do something similar. If you don't quite feel comfortable reaching out to a broker. But I'm always more than happy to chat to people for 5-10 minutes and let them know, we had this call last night, right? To let them know what their risks are. And I'm never going to say to you, you have to have this, or scold you, or be like, oh my God, I can't believe you don't have that. I mean, actually, if your car insurance is probably one of the ones that I might say that. Might judge you. But, with the business insurance, it is going to be dependable on your business. And as your business grows, you are going to need more. And you just have to be aware of it because, what the insurance I've seen a client go from $2,000 premiums for a couple of years, but then their business quadrupled in size and income. And now it's gone from that to a few $1,000s more. And it was it wasn't a shock because I'd prepared her for it.
Okay.
And then I gave her ways to reduce those premiums or her risk as well of claiming on it. So, I know I said at the start that I don't do business insurance, but I do have quite a bit to do with it sometimes. I just love and am passionate about small business, especially Pakehi Māori. I just like to hear about it. I like to talk about it. I'm very into business financials. I know it sounds really nerdy because I'm not really a maths person, but many years in business banking, I picked up a lot, and I just really enjoy helping people and being a part of their growth in some way, shape or form, and watching people grow.
So with those premiums, what are some of those ways that businesses can reduce the premiums?
Yeah, so I guess it's a little bit harder than personal insurances because sometimes they just are. And there's also minimum premiums out there where you just
have to pay.
That's what it is. Yeah, but I think pay it yearly.
Okay.
All business insurance is set up as a yearly policy. If you pay it monthly, you are going to pay probably about 10% more.
Oh, wow.
Which makes a difference on a couple of grand, right? That can apply to other insurances. So I would, think about that there as well as a way to save yourself some money. Excesses sometimes can help if they're a little bit higher and having emergency funds away for that. And just, I think, reducing your risk so you're not claiming. And then, because that can affect your premiums as well. Kind of the same as car, contents, all of that. One thing I will say is that it's only fire and general, which is business insurance as well, that is affected by claiming.
Ah.
The life and health insurance is no.
Okay.
We don't punish you for claiming on your insurance. Because, I think that would be a little...
Except for women, though, for the health insurance.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're punished for everybody else's claims, in a roundabout way, yeah. But there isn't if you claim on this, you lose your no claims bonus.
Yep.
There's just no such thing. You're discharged more every year as you age, which is fun.
So what tips would you give for business owners who maybe don't have any insurance? Not me. What should I do?
Yeah. So I think have a chat to somebody that does the same thing as you.
Yep.
If you find a broker or an advisor that you feel comfortable with, or somebody at least in the industry you feel comfortable with enough
I might
to
know
talk
someone.
About, yeah, we can chat. Who can give you a few pointers on things and things to think about without shoving stuff down, making you feel guilty, because I think a lot of people do when they start to talk about stuff that they don't have.
Yeah.
But I would say, hot tip is just to talk to somebody else that does what you do and see what they have to cover their risks. If they don't have anything, maybe find someone else. And then have a chat to somebody that you trust. And even that person could be anybody else in business that maybe doesn't do what you do. And they could just explain it to you. But insurance is just one of those things that it's just not common knowledge what it does and what it is unless you work in it. So find somebody cool to chat to, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
While we're here, what tips do you have for anyone starting out a business, just in general?
Yeah, I think again, nobody's perfect, right? And you actually have to take a massive plunge. It's a lot of risk. So I came from corporate for, it would have been maybe 13 years, 12 years. Safe, salary every fortnight and all of that. So a few tips from me is do cash flow forecasting, get an accountant early. I know pay for it. It's worth it. Understand that you are going to have to eventually pay tax.
Yep.
Okay, that's coming in every week or fortnight or monthly or however you get paid is not your money.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so many places you need to put that.
Yeah.
Open a few different accounts. So go to your bank, get your main account where everything goes into, and then open a few different ones. So a tax account, a GST account if you want to do that separately and you are going to be paying GST. And then a savings for those future things that you want to do as a business. We do quite a bit of saving to do marketing stuff. So, get your banking set up right and just know that, probably not half, but almost half of what comes in is not yours.
I know.
So you're going to have to pay tax eventually. Start saving for it before you do, because you don't want to get caught out in year 2, year 3 where you're then paying tax and provisional tax for the next year.
Yeah.
That's quite stressful. Set yourself up a fund to cover your expenses for a certain period of time that makes you feel comfortable. I think I had 4 months, maybe 6, where I just had that to the side that I used it to set the business up. And when you set up a financial advice business, there are so many fees and things to pay. And I get why, but so insurance, setup costs. What else did we have? Getting, photo shoots.
Yeah.
Random things like that. We have to get headshots done. A marketing team. I cannot express enough how much having somebody work out your marketing strategy and your brand with you is so helpful. Again, you're spending money, but I refer back to that brand package every single time I post.
Yeah.
I just know what it is, and it means that our messaging and our purpose comes across in everything we do.
Brand. Yeah.
It's always on. Yeah, I'm always no, that's not on brand.
We were actually talking about that last night, weren't we? About making sure that our collaboration is on brand for both of us, and they're a little bit different, so we have to figure out how we're going to be able to do that.
How we're going to make that look, and that's the thing is once you know what that is, it's so easy to. All of it's just mucking around with Canva.
Yeah.
To do posts, right?
Yeah.
So I think working out. Get your expenses done and plan ahead, cash flow forecasting. I just cannot stress that enough. Because if you don't know what you're going to be making in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, doesn't matter how long you're in business, then that's an issue.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up I think being a forward thinker is a specific skill. And if you don't have it, find someone who does.
Yep. And that would be my tip, really, is that as business owners, I think we are kind of like, we put ourselves in these situations where we're creating a business, and so we have to do everything. But knowing what things aren't our skills, like for me, editing is not my skill. So like outsourcing those things that I don't know how to do, or that I'm not good at, or that I don't have an interest in doing. And even when money's tight, so starting off my business, like I didn't make money for 8 months when I started Multi-Millionaire, and it was really just a passion project. But until I got to that point, I was like, okay, well, I need to save money so that I can actually be able to outsource the things that I'm not good at, that I don't know how to do, or that someone else can do better.
Yeah, and I think, like, because then you can do what you're good at, which for me is multiple things. Like, like I'm an advisor, but I do all of our marketing stuff, and I do all of our business planning. So, you know, like with Philly, I'm like, in 2 years' time, we're doing this. She's like, okay. And it's like, it's not her thing. So if you've got a business partner as well, you know what your strengths are and use them. It's taken us 2 years to really hone into what we're really good at. And we're just going to stay there. Like, they've got to make the most of it. Also, if you do have a business partner, get a business partnership agreement done early. Get a lawyer involved, do the partnership agreement so everybody knows how everything works. If you decide to go separate ways, how it's going to work. If the business has a value, get insurance on each other. So if I die, that's going to affect Philly financially.
Yes.
She'll then also have to pay out my family. So we've got insurance on me. We have yet to put someone who we're waiting for her. She had a recent surgery. So for life insurance, if you're booked in for having surgery, you've got to wait till afterwards to make sure you're recovered and you're good. And then they know what their risk is. So Philly's will be put in place soon, which would then go to me. I get all the business, and then I pay out her family.
Okay.
But us as a brand, we affect each other's income because, you know, I do that, but then she does a lot of our compliance stuff. Another thing is that if you're in an industry that requires compliance and paperwork and everything, if you're not good at it, find someone who is.
Yes.
Yeah. What else would you say? Like, I'm sure you've got.
I think knowing your strengths is a really big one for me, at least. I think a lot of growing a business, I think, also is about like having the courage and kind of confidence to know that the stuff that you are good at you can do, and actually just like doing it. Because I think a lot of the time, like, I will like doubt myself, like, I'm not good at that, or I'm too young, or whatever. But actually just having the confidence to do it, and actually giving things a go, because half the time you don't actually know the outcome until after you've done it. That would be another tip of mine.
Yeah. And I think like your confidence, like I said before, you don't seem 19, and it's got nothing to do with how you look. It's the confidence and that maturity that you have as well.
Fake it till you make it.
100%. Do you know, and I was saying, like, I had deal with a lot of, especially at the moment, there's a lot of imposter syndrome stuff happening, because we are, do you know, we are exactly where I planned for us to be. A year ago, 2 years ago, like we're living it.
Awesome.
And when I say we're living it, like, I'm not saying we're making like stupid amounts of money. We're not. It's like, that's got nothing to do with it. We're a successful business, but we are we've had the right relationships with people, connections. We've got amazing clients that know and trust us. We've got a brand that we love and enjoy, and we want to get up every morning and do our job. And I think I just never have ever had this in any other role. But business ownership isn't for everyone, so know when it's not. Like, if you want your sick days, and you want your holiday pay, and your extra employee benefits, and you want
what's that?
Lunch breaks, public holidays. Like, I never know when public holidays are. So I'm working on Monday, and everyone's at home, like my daughter and my partner, and just every time, and they've said to me, they're like, "Can you put this in public holidays in your calendar, please?" And I'm like, to be fair, I probably still work. I just you've got to plan those things out, and you've got to know, if you don't work, you don't make money. So Very prepared to hustle.
I feel like I'm in like a rare, I guess, like scenario because not many uni students are doing this, but like as a uni student, a business owner, and I'm still working at a law firm. So, I'm doing all three.
It's
and
exhausting.
I was talking to one of my friends the other day and I was like, wait, is it a uni holiday? And she was like, how do you not know it's a uni holiday? Like you go to uni. I was like, I don't know. I just like watch my lectures at night time and like I can't keep up. Like when she was like, we've been on a uni holiday for like a week and a half. It's almost finished now. And I was like, are you serious? Like I just didn't even know.
Yeah, and that's a sign that you love your business.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think it is anyway. But
Yeah.
my partner, sometimes I'll be cooking dinner because we and I think this is actually another tip: get everybody around you on board with what you're doing.
Yep.
So people need to support you because if they don't, it honestly has such a big effect on you and your business. Like it comes through really. So my partner is super supportive. My daughter knows. The thing is as well is that I'm around more for my daughter than I've ever been. And being a teenager is a good year, I'll tell you right now. Those parents out there, good time to be around them when they're teenagers because then you know everything that's going on. Not everything because we don't need to know everything, but just enough that they're safe.
Yeah.
And having that support. But my partner and I, we don't alternate, but we choose so many nights per week that we cook. So we do 3 each, we choose our meals, and that's how we do our shopping.
Yep.
But I'll be like, I've got work this night, and I'll cook the other nights. While I'm cooking, if there is like a 15-minute, let it simmer for 15 minutes or pop it in the oven for 40, I'll be doing emails in between them just to get things off my desk. So the next morning I can go to the gym, I can fluff around till 10 a.m., and it's a nice slow morning, especially if I've had a busy day, then I'll give myself a slow morning the next morning. And you've kind of just find that balance, I guess. Yeah.
Balance. Oh, that would be my tip that I didn't really understand at the start of this business journey because I think I was like in this like hustler's mindset and we're like, do it now. And I think the quote that I actually always like when I was growing up, I always follow this and it was, I'll do today what others won't, so I'll have tomorrow what others don't. And I think, like I love it in some ways,
it's
but
that hustle
also
energy that is.
Yeah.
And I get where you're coming from, and I know when you need to work, work. When, we live this whole live to work thing instead of work to live.
Yeah.
Like there's a way to do it, and I just don't jump into like a business is just a full-time job that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
So if you have to work, incredibly hard for a few, it depends what your end goal is. Like mine is not to be rich. So mine is mine is really an enjoyable life. When I look back, I did all the things that I wanted to do and I had a good time, and there might have been hard stuff, but I overcame it.
Yeah.
Or being able to be there for my kid. Being rich really doesn't kind of fit anywhere in there. But some people, even being a millionaire, like that's an asset, like and income. So that's not when I talk about rich. I'm just like rich, I just think that the hustle for me has already been. I did it all with my kid, like to be a mum, I think, and survive being a teen mum. But I think, especially as Māori, we are so good at living in survivor mode because we've been surviving for so long. I think it's time to thrive without having to kill ourselves in the process.
Yep. And I think that actually brings me on to another one, which I've kind of just realised recently, and it's whatever personal issues you're kind of like suffering from in your own life, they show up in bright colours within your business.
Oh, yeah.
And one example is, I guess, not valuing yourself. And so if you're not doing that in your personal life, how do you think that you're going to go into a business world and start valuing your products or your services and charge what you're worth? Like that's one big thing for me that I never really realized because I wasn't doing it in my own life. And so when I was going out to like sell things or actually give people my fees, obviously they weren't going to be actually genuine to what it was because I wasn't doing that in my own life. So figuring out how to, I guess, get help for those things in your own life because they do have benefits in your business as well. Yeah. Which is, something
totally agree. I think business and life coaching can be really helpful. Obviously find someone that you connect with. Be very careful about people you find on the internet, what they charge you. But even though I found mine on Instagram, but I think find something that that can, if you can afford it and it gets to that point, sometimes it's just helpful to have somebody kind of help with that personal growth, because if you don't grow, you won't grow in business. I agree. And I think, the fake it till you make it will only make it so far. You'll manifest what you think of yourself.
Yeah.
And it'll keep showing up. Totally agree.
Do you have any other tips for anyone?
I
Or
think
maybe anyone wanting to get into like an insurance space or a financial space?
That's actually a very good point, because we need more people.
Yes.
And we need more Māori people
Yes.
and Pacifica. Because what it is you're more likely to talk to somebody, not everybody, but you're more likely to talk to somebody and understand somebody and connect with somebody if you can see them in your life, if they look like you.
Yeah.
So I've never had leaders in this business that were that for me, and I would hope at some point I would be that for somebody else. Just to think, I remember being working when I worked at a bank, and I was in a role that I guess people would have looked at and been like, wow, that's cool that you do that, like if you worked in the bank. So I'd have tellers that were Māori that would be like, oh, you're a business manager. I'm like, yeah, like that's what I do. And we were kind of like, did our own thing, business managers. It was like you had your clients and you looked after them, and you weren't necessarily fully involved in the branch at all times. So they would just see us as these people who had like a lot of freedom. And, I'm like, it's something that you could do too. Like it's, they just looked at it as this long distant thing. I would love to see more people get into finance from a perspective of that it's a long-lasting career. You don't necessarily have to go out into business. There are so many entry-level roles that you can jump into, and banking. I think that's because that's where I started my career as a teller. There's so many ways that you can grow as a person and professionally through going through those roles. You also learn how, like the simple things like emailing people back the same day. Crazy how many businesses don't do that. I've got like a sundowner policy, which I was taught to me so many years ago, is if I had an email come through that day, I need to reply to that person before the sun goes down. Now, I don't actually need to fix their situation.
Just acknowledge it.
Hey, got your email. I'll get back to you by this time. And I give myself plenty of time. So then I'm always over delivering on the situation, and then not the other way around. But I would say in finance, I think we need more people to come in, because we need the diversity. We need Māori people and Pacifica people, and anybody that feels uncomfortable walking into a bank to be, I don't think everyone's completely comfortable, but just to walk in and be able to open an account. Or call somebody to get insurance advice or whatever. We just need more of that. And I think if you want to be a financial advisor, getting a little bit of corporate knowledge or industry knowledge is going to really help you in the future, especially if you want to be self-employed in that space. But otherwise, honestly, if you just want to go for it, go for it. Do your study, come to me if you need some tips or whatever. Be very careful in the industry, I guess, in what you listen to in regards to how things need to be done. There's been a process for so many years that everybody's followed, and this is how you do it, and we don't do it any of those ways at R&P. We have done everything the complete opposite to people what they told us. They said you shouldn't do that, you can't do that, you aren't going to be successful if you do this, and we've done all the things, and we're still here, and we will be for a long time. So don't let it put you off. The study, by the way, to be a financial advisor is very boring.
How long is it? I actually don't know.
I did mine in 2018, 2019, a while ago. And so it's not the same version, but I did mine being a business manager at the same time. So I studied at night and weekends to get through it. But generally it's a year. I think most people can do it within 6 months if it's kind of full-time study.
Okay.
But it's all online. You can do it through, I believe, Open Poly or Strategy. And so what you do is you do the base financial advice, and then you choose a strand. So you could do mortgages, or you could do life and health, or you could go down the investment side of things. It's just not as fancy. If you've ever studied, you'll know. It's just not as fancy or as fun as it sounds, but you will pick up a lot of core information that you'll need. And then the practical side of it can come with either working in a business with somebody, or having like a mentor, or working in a corporate business. Those things can help. If you work in corporate, sometimes depending on the business, they might actually put you through the study.
Mm.
So that's an option. But everyone, in that space, you have to study and you have to be registered if you give financial advice. Yeah.
Interesting. Could be a potential future for multimillionaires.
Yeah, love that.
Well, thank you so much, Rochelle, for being here again for our last episode. I have learnt so much today, and I'm really grateful for you being here, and to R&P Insurance for powering these episodes. I'm really, really grateful for you coming up here all the way from Christchurch, and I've learnt so much. Like, I'm so happy, and I'm going to be going home and really digesting everything that I've learned and taking in, absorbing all those tips that you've shared. So thank you. And thank you to everyone for listening to today's episode. And
Thank you. Ka kite.
Ka kite koutou.